Hello, everyone. My name is Lucy Knott. For any of you that weren't in the first session this morning with us, I'm Lucy Knott and I am the Senior Partnership Development Manager for the Fairtrade Foundation. And it's my role today to guide you through today's sessions. So welcome everyone to the second of three incredibly exciting and informative sessions where we will be joined by some truly expert panelists from across the global Fairtrade network, and of course some of our valued partners across the sustainable fashion sector. And you'll see on screen a few of them are with me already. I must say this really has been a global effort across the Fairtrade national organisations and of course the producer networks and, as I say, our partners. So as I said, this is actually the second of three really fantastic sessions today. So in this session, I'll be handing over shortly to Safia, who will be taking us through the benefits of Fairtrade from the brands and producers who have first-hand experience of that real measurable impact that Fairtrade makes. We then have a third and final session at 12 p.m. CET or Central European Time, and that will be discussing how Fairtrade can be a really strong partner for your HREDD strategy, especially with the upcoming legislation in mind. So a few reminders before I finally hand over. As I said, there have been three sessions. There'll be three sessions total today. So if you're listening to me now and you haven't signed up to our third session, there is a separate link to do so. It will be on the same invite, so please do sign up for that. There will be 5 or so minutes in between each for a coffee break. But please do sign up for all. The sessions will be recorded and you should get a copy of that recording after the sessions themselves. And importantly, please do put any questions you have into the Q&A box. We will try our best to get through and answer all the questions that do come through, whether that's live or in the Q&A box itself. The chat itself isn't monitored, so make sure those go in the Q&A so we can pick them up. Anyway, I will now hand over to Safia to introduce herself and all the wonderful panelists and start the second session.
Thanks so much, Lucy. My name is Safia Minney, and I'm honoured and delighted to be moderating what an incredible panel. So very, very much looking forward to learning from them and also to seeing some of the questions and having a good 10 minutes to be able to have them answer some of those questions at the end. So I'm also going to set a context for today. But before that, I'd very much like to thank Fairtrade and the team effort. As Lucy says, it's been phenomenal. We're going to have Pravakar Meher who's the chair at the NAT board for Protimo Agro Producer Organisation. We've got Jenny Henriksson, who's the head of production at Nudie Jeans in Sweden. Christian Ferguson, who's the head of sustainability at Varner in Norway. Pauline Voy, who's the fabric and the raw material lead at Aachen in France, and then Lars Besch, who's the founder of Neutral in Denmark, and then Andy Ashcroft, who's the executive director at Koolskools in the UK. So we're going to learn an awful lot from them. I know that someone's got my presentation, so I'm hoping that we can come to the first slide. There's someone there on the production side that can bring up the presentation. So I'm just going to fly through in a few minutes. So my journey has been very much building sustainable supply chains for People Tree, which started about 32 years ago, and working with organic and fair trade farmers in Gujarat in India, and then setting up supply chains through factories in India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. And for me, it was always, and I'm sitting here dressed from head to toe in fair trade and organic cotton. It's always been a passion of mine to really understand where the materials come from and throughout, and build value, both environmental and social value throughout those supply chains. If you could move to the next slide. And I think if we could move to the next slide, please. Sorry, would it be possible to move to the next slide? I wonder if it's okay. We've got a little bit of a production problem with the slides. So I'll continue. If you can find the slides and move them, that would be fantastic. But whilst we're doing that, so okay, great. So if we could move to slide 2, that's great. So you know, as we know, we are experiencing global temperature increases. This animation shows how the world has heated over the last 200 years. So this global heating is impacting so many different areas. If we move to the next slide, the climate, ecological and social crisis we've known about, of course, for over 100 years, and we're now, you know, within COP also looking at those lobbying interests that are sustaining the fossil fuel use. And I think as an industry, fashion and textile, we're looking at how we can move away from fossil fuels and really promote organic and regenerative practices that also have a high social standard. If we move to the next slide. So we're all familiar with the hockey stick. We're all familiar that COPs have been happening, but still, you know, we are dangerously pushing the planets way beyond the 1.5 degrees above pre-industrialized levels. If we move to the next slide, you know, we know that this is a very dangerous situation, and we can see these the change in global temperatures over the last hundreds of years from different factors, like looking at corals and tree rings, etc., etc. If we move to the next slide. So, you know, there is no question, I think, with all of the reports and evidence that we are at this point, if we do not change radically the way we do trade and business, which means the way we do our work within supply chains, the way we partner, that we are heading towards between 2.4 degrees and 2.8 degrees. If we move to the next slide. And we know the impact of this, if we can just go through the slides one by one. Wildfires, we've seen them in Hawaii, we've seen them throughout Europe, the droughts that we're experiencing around the world. If we could move to the next one, where we see rising levels of floodwaters and the impact that's having to our supply chains, the cyclone damage, for example. If we go to the next slide, the melting glaciers and ice caps. You know, I was on the phone earlier this morning. Chennai Airport is flooded. You know, freight is stuck there. Again, looking at the biodiversity loss of 70% for those of you on the call who might be as old as I am. So we have some huge work to do. If we move to the next slide. So what I feel is so exciting in supporting the fair trade and the social standard through Fairtrade is that, you know, we start also to support the people, the farmers, who are just so much the stewards of better land. The Human Niche Report, many of you know, which shows that by 2070, we may well have as many as 3 billion people on the move if we don't look after the soils as we face food security and more erratic weather conditions and biodiversity losses. So we somehow need to transition as a textile and fashion industry. At the moment, 5% of greenhouse gas emissions, which is forecast to increase to 25% of total greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, cannot happen. If we move to the next slide. So, you know, we are living in, but we are also redesigning together new textile and clothing manufacture models. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to listen and to learn from some of these amazing brands and forerunners of the industry as to how they're working with fair trade cotton to really make the difference. If we can move to the next slide. So we need to redesign the fashion industry, the textile industry, to fit within the 9 planetary boundaries. You know, you're probably familiar with this image, this graphic, but you know, even the agricultural inputs, the synthetic based fossil fuel derived inputs that are often conventionally used in cotton are pushing our planetary boundaries over the edge. If we move to the next slide. So what we're trying to do is to look at these regenerative organic farming systems where the farmer is central, but also looking at how we create a circular fashion ecosystem. Next slide, please. So many people will say that the science shows us that we need to cut production by as much as 75 to 95% to fit within planetary boundaries. And what would remain would then be the good stuff, the production, the raw materials that are grown in ways that are truly regenerating ecosystems, but also contributing significantly in terms of social impact to farmers, to their families, and to their communities. If we move to the next slide. So I think all of the brands that we're going to be meeting today are going to be talking about their sustainability journeys and how they've incorporated fair trade cotton into their supply chains in the same way that we did. If we move to the next slide, a lot of the good practice, we've been really excited to share good practice at Fashion Declares. So if we move to the next part, I'd very, very much like to invite, if we take the slides down, thank you. I'd like to invite each of the panelists to introduce themselves for a minute. If we could please start with Prabhakar, would you like to tell us who you are in a minute?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Prabhakar Meher. I represent a cotton producer group in southeastern part of India. It's known as Pratima Organic Grower Group. I work as one of the director of this organization. I look after the purchase and sales of the organization. It's like almost like more than 12 years we have been certified, and we are now working with almost like more than 4,000 farmers.
Amazing. Jenny, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Jenny Henriksson. I'm the head of product development and production at Nudie Jeans in Sweden. We are a denim company. I also work as a product manager for our men's apparel styles. So I work on daily basis with Fairtrade cotton styles. And for you who don't know about Nudie Jeans, as I said, we are a denim company from Sweden, approximately 22 years old. And
can I stop you? Can I stop you there? And I know I'd love to know much more deeply about Nudie, but just in terms of quick introduction. So, Christiana, would you mind telling us a little bit about what you're doing at Varna?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Christiana. I am head of sustainability at Varna. So I have the overall responsibility. We have 6 different own brands, which we do manage in a common platform, so to say.
Wow. And Pauline? Is Pauline with us? Okay, in the meantime, Lars, could you introduce yourself?
My name is Lars Beck. I'm the founder and CEO of Neutral.com. We are selling a lot of fair trade, organic. We believe in certifications, so we're certified the whole way through the supply chain, and we've been doing this for 20 years, and we are a B2B company. So we help companies telling the stories to the employees, and when they give gifts on t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, caps, and so on. Yes.
Excellent. And Andy, I know you just got back from India. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Yes, very late Saturday night, so I'm probably looking still a bit jet lagged. But my name's Andy Ashcroft. I'm the managing director and co-founder of Cool Company Limited, which trades as Koolskools in the school uniform sector and Sustainable with a capital S and a capital U in the university sector. We've only ever manufactured with Fairtrade cotton, and we got our Fairtrade license in 2010. We also go into the schools that we supply and run Fairtrade assemblies and class sessions. So we educate, hopefully, the consumers of the future as we go along.
Amazing. Pauline, have we got you back yet? Maybe not. Okay, well, we'll come to Pauline soon. So what I'd love to do is I'd like to divide the session, because there's a lot of ground to cover here, and we've got a big audience. But what we're going to do is we're going to start first with questions to producers, in this case to Prabhakar. So I'd love to know from you, Prabhakar, how long you've been working with Fairtrade and the impact that you've seen to your producer organization and to the farmers over the years, and also the challenges that you face.
Okay, thank you. So it has been like more than 12 years since we have been certified Fairtrade. Did you ask about challenges, right?
Well, yes, I did. Yes, I'd love to know what the positive impact is, both to your organization and the farmers, and also the challenges that you face.
Okay. So challenges, when you talk it, there's a very big topic. So let's start with some positive points kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Fairtrade itself, like when you compare it to some sustainable labels, we are quite unique, like in terms of, like uniqueness, when you say it's in terms of it talks about, like development approach of 360-degree to the producers. It's like it talks of social aspect, economical aspect, and environmental aspect. Fairtrade is the only standard, like which calculates and fixes a minimum support price for products and a premium to it. Now, most of the sustainable initiatives are talking of climate change, but as Fairtrade, we have started working on it long back. Now, talks on social standards, Fairtrade is quite ahead, as we are already working on, living wages and living income.
So could I ask what specifically are the benefits of the premium, for example, and how are they being used?
Okay, now let me come to the Fairtrade premium part, right? So Fairtrade premium is an extra amount, like which we pay to the producer group on sales of their product. The producer group democratically decide on usage of this premium for their community. This premium has very impact, for example, kind of thing, like improving livelihood condition of the producers as they do some income generation activities. Sometimes it's like fulfilling necessities, basic necessities, like in some projects they do some projects they do on drinking water, sanitation, building basic infrastructure. It's also the next is improving education in communities, like some projects they implement this premium to fund education, like where there are difficulties in like providing the basic education parts. Fairtrade premium is also used in good agriculture practices, like they invest on some technologies, some machineries to improve soil fertility. So these are some examples, like where this Fairtrade premiums are used for.
And what are the challenges that you face?
Challenges are never ending. It's a long topic. I don't think you will allow me that time, but let me just point out 2-3 which are very much, like the need of the moment kind of thing. So the first challenge is, like as if we all know, like there has been a lot of fluctuation in prices in last 3-4 years. So it's very difficult for a farmer, like to predict, like the prices and all, because day by day the cost of production has been increasing. But at the same time, if you compare it to the price of cotton, it has not been increasing much in years. Like the second is just before this, like there was a presentation, on the climate change and everything. It's okay, like we can see it on the presentation, but we have seen this practically in the last 4 or 5 years. The climate change has affected a lot to the farmers, like because at the right moment, like when the rain is expected, we don't have rain. When it's not expected, we have rain. For example, like currently also, it's not the time, like we should have rain, but half of India is like almost facing, the cyclonic rains. You can see me also sitting in dark because I don't have power because it's heavily raining since last 12 hours. So for farmer, in terms of farmer, the climate change is a really very is the most challenging the biggest challenge at the current moment. They take their harvest to their home. Anything can happen. Like there is no insurance, nothing.
So it's a very
And one more challenge we can. Yes, sure, please.
sorry, one more challenge. So the
And one more thing. And one more thing, I think it's yes, a challenge in terms of like in terms of demand. Like the demands are not constant every year, kind of thing. So it fluctuates a lot. Like for example, we have sold like X ton this year, so there might be some minus or some plus. So so to keep farmer motivated within the system, we need to now think of long-term contracts and like a constant demand, so that like they can also plan their farming, their activities accordingly to the demand.
Thank you so much, Prabhakar. So
Yeah,
I'm just hearing how much value and impact there really is to the farmers and to your organization and supplying the new technology and really supporting, in a very, very difficult context of climate change, and also, as you say, when market demand is changing. If I could come now to the business to consumer facing brands. Jenny at Nudie, if you wouldn't mind, could you talk to me a little bit about why businesses should care about the social side of sustainability? There's a lot discussed about the environmental side, but what prompted you to join Fairtrade and to really make it part of delivering the goals and your business strategy?
For us here at Nudie Jeans, we believe that if you want to be a relevant company for future, you have to work with all areas of sustainability. And for us, sustainability is including the governance part. It's how we do business, as well as the environmental part and the social part. And when the Nudie Jeans started, our founder, Maria, she wanted to make good jeans under good conditions, knowing where it was made and by whom. And this has always been a priority for us. And we joined Fairtrade in 2011 when we started to work with our first supplier in India, that it was Armstrong Knitting Mills in Tirupur. And before that, we have only had production in Europe. So it was quite a big step for us. And but Armstrong had a good sustainability profile, and they seemed to be a good match for us. So we started our cooperation, and already from the beginning, the cotton we used for our jersey styles was organic and fair trade. And one of the first production we made with Armstrong was a collaboration with Amnesty International with printed T-shirts with their message on. And for this particular production, tried also to not only have fair trade and organic cotton, but also to calculate our share of the living wages for the tier 1 that was. And that was the starting point actually for the living wage program that we have with all our suppliers in India today.
Can I ask, so in terms of the challenges that you faced, have you also been working with Fairtrade on a kind of day-to-day basis? How have they been able to kind of support your connection in terms of sourcing? Can you talk a bit about that?
Sure. I mean, what we feel is the challenge is to scale up actually, because are using cotton for all our products that we do in India. But the main part of our production is in Turkey for the denim fabrics. So what we feel has been like a limitation for us has been to scale up our commitment, actually. But we source our raw material through Shetna Organics, the coalition. So we have a very good traceability. And this is also thanks to, two suppliers that we are working with. We have a very limited amount of suppliers. And we try to team up with suppliers that are like a good mix for us, that share the same values. And that, of course, makes life so much more easy when you want to keep track of your supply chain, because that's a heavy job and it's a continuous job. You have to, for every season, you have to check and double check in all aspects, both for us and for the suppliers. But so far, it has been working very well. And we are so happy to have the Fairtrade cotton, because then we secure our raw material. And also we know that the farmers get a fair price for it. And we have also visited the cotton fields on several occasions. And to talk to the farmers and to see with their own eyes the difference that it makes. It's been really amazing. We are, as I said, working with a lot of different topics in the sustainability work, but the Fairtrade cotton is, from my side, the most visible part of the impact you as a brand can make by making this choice.
Yeah.
Also,
have there been any kind of sourcing problems that you've been able to kind of iron out with the help of Fairtrade cotton, or how's it worked? In terms of connecting you to spinners or CMT.
But through our two suppliers, they have actually helped us a lot with that. They have done with Fairtrade, of course. So I must say it's thanks to our very good relationship with our suppliers, we have full traceability and full insight in the supply chain at this moment. So, but Fairtrade is, we've been working with Fairtrade now for many years, and from our side, the cooperation is working well and very smooth. And when it comes to reporting routines, Fairtrade is doing a great job. So no issues there.
Amazing, and such a lovely product. Thank you so much, Jenny. Maybe we could come now to Pauline. Could you please tell us why to your business the human and the social side of sustainability is so important, and what prompted you to go to Fairtrade, and how that kind of fits into your overall business plans and goals and strategies, and something a little bit about some of the challenges that you face and how you work with Fairtrade on a kind of day-to-day basis. Oh, Pauline, I can't hear you.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I got some trouble with the connections. I missed the introduction. I'm a fabric and raw material leader for Auchan. So it has been a year now. I'm buying Fairtrade cotton. Actually, with Auchan, we used to work only with the first supplier, or the last supplier of the supply chain. So we have to change all our approach to be able to source from the last supplier until the cotton supplier. We have met several partners or potential partners, and actually Fairtrade was the one matching our requirements, because as everyone around the table here, I guess, we are really conscious about social environment and also economic parts to be able to have this mix and to offer and to offer to the maximum of our customers a fair product. So it was one of our challenge, because for the one who doesn't know Auchan, we are a major actor in the mass distribution. So in a way, we have the opportunity to target everyone, but also we know the textile or garment departments, divisions in the mass distributions is sensible to the price. So that was quite of the major challenge, how to mix with all the aspects. Fairtrade was really, the Fairtrade team was really available and reliable to help us to build the sustainable supply chains and to ensure the level of compliance or overall CSR activity for each actors. Yes, it was, we had to change all of our way of working. And so far now we have a good partnership with Fairtrade, and we are really glad to also to realize how Fairtrade has an impact. So I also get the chance to visit the cotton fields and meet with the farmers, and it's really exciting to see how we can participate as making their life better.
So I hear some of the challenges with the price sensitivity, but somehow you've managed that well. And so kind of thinking about the transparency and traceability, is that also a key factor for you?
Yes, indeed, because as you know, also as a major actor of distribution, we are always blamed about this part, about not being enough transparent with our customers. And here with Fairtrade, we got the chance to have the full traceability. And also this is one of the reasons why we have chosen Fairtrade as a partner. They offer us the full traceability, and they are also really transparent all the aspects. I mean, the cotton price are public, the suppliers and farmer list are public, the royalties are public, and also the premium allocation. So overall, yes, we are really conscious about the transparency and what we can offer to our customer.
Thanks so much, Pauline. I'm so glad that you're back with us. Christiane, if we could come to you now. So in terms of your business and your position within the business as head of sustainability at Varner, could you go through why the social side, the human side, is so important? How you started to work with Fairtrade cotton, and again, it would be really exciting for us to understand, if there are challenges that you faced or are still facing, what are they? How have you overcome them, and how on the kind of the day-to-day has your relationship with Fairtrade been facilitated, if there are connections to other parts of supply chain that might have helped? Over to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I'm representing Varner. We have 6 different brands, and one of the biggest brands that we have is a menswear brand, Dressman, and they started their journey in 2017 with Fairtrade. And our company is kind of, the company culture is built on people. So the social part of it is kind of close to our heart. It's where we started our sustainability journey back in the late 90s, and it what our brand wanted to do kind of an extra effort on. And then we were introduced to Fairtrade, which I think is one of the few textile standards that actually addresses the social part and the human rights. So that was kind of the starting point for us. And looking into textile industry today, compared with a lot of other industry that has gone through a lot of automation processes, the textile industry haven't been down that path, and we are still very much dependent on manual labor, especially in the raw material segment. So I think that is what it is important for us to work with Fairtrade, because for us in the textile industry, mainly we work with the first tier, so the garment manufacturer, and we didn't really have that much visibility into the raw material segment. And joining Fairtrade gave us that opportunity to actually connect at farm level, which has been quite valuable. It gives us, so Fairtrade will help us to address adverse impacts at the farm level. And as you know, we are situated in Norway, and we are ahead of the EU legislation at some point. So we did actually have our due diligence regulation, the Transparency Act, come into force this year, which is actually making it mandatory now to address potentially an existing negative impacts in the whole of the value chain. So being able to connect with Fairtrade on that point has been very valuable. Also, the fact that we should, as a brand, also work on living wages, which is another tick off with Fairtrade, because Fairtrade do that kind of work with the farmers. And I must say, I think the other thing that has been very valuable for us as a brand in terms of the human and social aspect, and that has been valuable for both sustainability and the brand itself, is the kind of the premium part. So not only do they have a premium, but compared with a lot of other commodities and certifications out there, Fairtrade is involving with the farmers. So the farmers actually have core determination of what they want to achieve within their cooperative. So they have the possibility to see what things they feel that they need to improve in terms to be better. And the premium actually give them the measures and the means to be able to invest in those commodities. So I think that is extremely valuable for us as a brand, because doing that sort of work on the ground, it is complicated and it takes a lot of resources. And then we would need to be dependent on partners such as Fairtrade. And you also kind of talked about challenges. And yes, there has been challenges, and it's scaling up Fairtrade has been a challenge also for us. We have managed, since we started with Fairtrade, to keep our volume consistent, and it's back to what Prakabar also say, that they need to have that kind of foresight, how much is going to be need to be produced, so that they have like that security, and that is something that we have been very conscious about, to try to keep our volumes. But since Fairtrade is based on the FOB price on the final product and not necessarily the amount of cotton that goes into the product, we see that we have difficulties scaling Fairtrade for the product that has a more complicated making. So it's easier with t-shirts and socks and boxer shorts and such, but it's a bit more complicated on other product groups. So that's where we are struggling. And as Prabhakar says, raw material prices is going up. They are not necessarily getting paid, but all the prices are getting up. So I think that is a challenge within the textile industry that we now need to address more commonly.
For sure, and I really hear you on that. You know, that you're also a forerunner in terms of transparency and traceability, because you've pioneered this space. You've got that comfort, but also some of those challenges there. Thank you so much. So I'd like to move now to our B2B panelists. Lars, if you could come in now to talk a little bit about, does it matter? Is it different for a B2B business, the social and human side of your strategy? How have you come to work with Fairtrade Cotton? Some of the challenges, you know, I'd love to know, is it slightly different because it is B2B? Over to you, Lars.
Thank you, Hannah. And thank you for the introduction. And I think you showed it very well. You showed some of the problems we are facing right now, and they are enormous. They are really challenging. It's round the clock. It's everything at once. And as human beings, we have to consider what kind of world we want to live in. So back to neutral, right? I mean, we saw these problems when we founded Neutral 20 years ago, and we're working on how could we really make the textile industry changing for a sustainable way producing, because the problem is that the supply chain is so big, starting with the seed, ending up with the product. Nobody can really see what's going on. So that's why we understood. I'd been in Bangladesh, started out 35 years ago. So I was working with the conditions for the workers at the factories there in the old days. I was looking at how to clean the wastewater from the dyeing. So these were very big issues for us. And of course, what happened was then we suddenly understood about the cotton, because cotton was just cotton. But then we understood that one T-shirt was polluting of 3,000 liters of T-shirts from seed to the final product. And a lot of the pollution is from when you grow the cotton, because of pesticides, insecticides, and chemicals just being used like, I don't know, it's spraying on every day, and it kills everything. So these were the challenges we were facing. So of course it had to be organic cotton, because this is not allowed, and you cannot use gene modified seeds where you put the farmers in debt. So of course it had to be organic. And then when you have the farmers, the problem of those days were that the organic cotton was not more expensive than conventional. It was like 3-4%. That was ridiculous. So then we had a talk with you guys, and of course we had to pay a premium directly to the farmer, so that they could put their kids to school and have some money in their pocket. This was just natural for us. This was a simple solution. So this is the DNA of Neutral. We are founded on producing right. And
so Lars, just one short question. So how does the Fairtrade certification sit alongside the other certifications and initiatives that you currently have?
That's what I'm coming to, because you are the only one who helps the farmer direct. So so when we buy the cotton, we pay a premium directly to the farmers.
And the customers do care.
The customers have to care, and they do care. They want to. I mean, it's been a long process. As I told you, we've been on it for nearly 20 years. We worked together for nearly 20 years. You see the figures, right? I mean, the first 10, 15 years, people really didn't think that it was worth paying extra for the farmers, or extra for cleaning the wastewater, or extra for anything. But they understand now, because you showed it so well in the introduction. It's now or never.
It's now or never. Lars, thank you so very much. I'd like to invite Andy, who, despite the jet lag, is very much present.
Can I say one last thing?
Please, Lars.
What I think is important for brands who are considering to go and want to make a difference is to work together with you and integrate, instead of conventional cotton or organic cotton, integrate Fairtrade into their own supply chain. Yeah. Because that is the way you can make a difference.
Yeah.
Integrate it, integrate it into your supply chain. Yeah. You have the power to tell the producers what cotton they should use.
Yeah.
Please
Thank
integrate.
you. Thank you so much. Everyone listening. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lars. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Safia. Well, just a little brief background on our business. We started our business in 2010, knowing that the school uniform market here in the UK was notoriously profits driven, and traceability was complete anathema. So we wanted to do something that, in our modest way, obviously starting off, was perhaps disrupting to the industry. It's been a long journey. We had a very cumbersome supply chain up until 2016, where we were sending Fairtrade cotton over from India to Mauritius and getting it, manufactured over there, bringing it over to the UK. Unfortunately, the factory that we were working with over there went under in 2016. We tried to keep our supply chain going in Mauritius for a couple of years. It didn't work, but there I would say our contacts, our long-term contacts through the Fairtrade Foundation, were absolutely crucial in enabling us to change tack and move over our entire manufacturing operation to India. So in some ways, you might say that a more flexible model for our business was born in 2018. So we had about 18 months of that, and then we have had COVID. So challenges have been there for us as a business, but thankfully in the last couple of years we've come through that, and we've always managed to maintain that initial desire only to manufacture with Fairtrade cotton. So everything we do, literally from day one, is manufactured with Fairtrade cotton. And perhaps the best indication of the scalability of our business is that we're based down here in Southampton on the south coast of England, and our fastest growing market for some years has been Scotland and Scottish schools. Scotland, as you know, is a fair trade nation. We have over 50 client schools in Scotland. An absolutely key part of our USP is going into schools and educating the students about fair trade in a general sense, as well as taking a look through the eyes of our supply chain. And in that, total knowledge of traceability and our entire supply chain going back through to the individual farmers is absolutely key. Plus the social development aspects that chime very, very well with UK schools who invariably have very strong global citizenship credentials as well. So we're playing into that. What is somewhat depressing is that we're very kindly described on the Fairtrade Foundation website as the UK's #1 Fairtrade school uniform supplier. Unfortunately, we're still the only
one.
Fairtrade school uniform supplier. But anyway, we're trying to disrupt in our modest way, and we've branched out into now supplying universities as well around the country, which is a growing part of our business.
Amazing job you do. Amazing. Just one learning that you had just going out to the cotton fields and working with the farmers this time. Any new insight that you had that you didn't have before you went?
Well, this is my third visit to India, and of course I've seen Fairtrade premium projects, so to speak, in action before. But one that really struck me this time was in a little village called Aliguda. They've got about 30 Fairtrade organic cotton farmers. And just before COVID struck, they had a go down, so a little storage facility built in their village, which meant that the individual farmers no longer had to store their cotton through the harvest season in their homes. They had a communal storage point. But crucially, apart from the 2.5 to 3 months of the year when that cotton is being stored, that go down is being used as a real community hub. So the farmers and their communities come together. They run all sorts of social events. They do training. Chetna trains them in that go down, and they share best practice. And crucially also, they said to me, we've learned a lot in this go down about how to tackle the impacts of climate change. So from a very modest Fairtrade premium purchase, if you like, a lot of good is cascading throughout that little region of Fairtrade organic cotton farmers.
And a real sense of community and sharing, worries and challenges and best practice to how to deal with them. Thank you so much, Andy. Pravaka, I'd like to come back to ask you for your just a few insights from hearing these amazing panelists talk about their brands and their business models. We also have, and we're running quite short on time, we also have some interesting questions in the chat. One is for Pravaka. I think might have some Wi-Fi connection issues there. When he's back, we'll talk about that. And then Sharon Stone, who's asked you, Andy, in terms of the school uniform supply, how does it work financially, and how is demand, and is there more than you can meet? So perhaps you'd like to just answer that one, if you wouldn't mind, and we'll see if Pravaka comes back.
That's a very perceptive question, if I may say so, Sharon, because it is a challenge, because of course it is a seasonal business, and we started from scratch in 2010. We had one client school here in Southampton, and cash flow, the management of cash flow is a constant issue. So and I don't think, well, I know that there are no other school uniform suppliers of our size in the UK that actually manufacture their own uniform. That gives us a challenge, but on the other hand, it also gives us an advantage over many of those suppliers around the UK. But we have to very, very carefully calibrate the orders that we're putting in at this time of year now for the summer 2024 sales season, and make sure we
so
don't
a lot of very, very careful planning by the sounds of things.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And Becky talks about the and maybe Lars, you could come back on this. So how do you think you can convince more customers to buy fair trade products? Just in a nutshell, we're really, really very low on time.
Well, it's important that they understand that it's not only banana and coffee and sugar, it's also cotton and what good things it makes. So come up with examples, the premium that we pay to international. What are they being used for? All the good stories. I mean, I know that we have 500 school kids as a direct impact from farmers who are being picked up every day and transported to school and back, and they would not have
so
had
these
that
wonderful
chance.
stories to connect the product with the producer. This is a great opportunity. I'm going to ask each of the panelists just for a 20-second vision for fair trade cotton. I wonder if we could start with Jenny, and then go to Pauline, and then Prabhakar, and then Christiana. Jenny?
Yeah, what I want to just to pass forward to everybody listening is that, I mean, there are so many different kind of topics on the sustainability agenda, and sometimes it's almost like a trend and it changes all the time. But to choose fair trade cotton and to stick with it for the long run, that really makes an impact. And I hope to see more companies joining to get an impact.
Thanks so much, Jenny. Pauline?
Yes, same as Jenny, and regarding to us, we have just started for a year only buying cotton fair trade, but we have a real ambitious strategy about it. Actually, more than 60% of our articles are made from cotton nowadays, and we would like within the 10 years to switch all our cotton t-shirt into fair trade cotton.
Amazing.
Yes.
Christiana, just 30 seconds from you, please.
Oh, growing in volume would be fantastic, both from our own perspective and from other brands joining as well. It is
nice.
To say it short, you can tick off a lot of boxes.
Yeah, you can. Prabhakar, just a 20-second message.
I would like to request all to join the fair trade movement and witness the development of the farmers.
Absolutely. Okay, Andrew, over to you. Andy?
I would say my message would be the message that I give to the school children, which is that if you engage seriously with fair trade cotton, you are doing a little good in the world with every single garment that you sell. And I think that's a good message for business to carry as well.
Excellent, excellent. Lars, what's your message?
Yeah, that is the only change we do. So every piece is important, and I think we have to realize the challenges the farmers in around the world and India, where we buy all our cotton, they are really challenged. It's a big thing. Please support them.
Excellent, excellent. I've been reminded that I do have a little bit more time to take some questions. So I have a question here for Pauline. How are you managing the price? And you know, as they offer very price aggressive products, I mean, how do you manage to cover the fair trade price for cotton?
Yes, yeah, we know the price is really challenging, but it is part of our strategy to offer an accessible price to our customers. But based on what we used to do, this product is middle range price, and so of course it is higher price, but it is only €1 higher to our middle range product. It is to make the difference. We sacrifice our margin on this product actually to democratize this kind of product, because we believe it is the future. So it is another approach to work with our with all the supply chain actually to achieve and to answer to the price challenge. And it was not an easy job. We worked with all the actors, from farmers to our garment makers, to be able to achieve and to answer on the economic point.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Prabhakar, I have a question for you. Is the new generation interested in farming? And what is the work that you or Fairtrade are doing with young people? Sorry, are you? I'm not sure if you have. Prabhakar, are you with us?
Okay. Can you just repeat? Actually, I had some connection
Yes,
issues.
of course, yes. So the new generation, are they interested in farming? And what is Fairtrade doing with young people, with youth, in order to excite them about farming?
So, uh, uh, so the biggest challenge is, like the youth in farming. There are a lot of challenges. They see farming as a very tough job because life is getting very easier with technologies nowadays. So as a producer network, like within Fairtrade, we are trying to, like educate the upcoming generation more about this farming on the Fairtrade principles. Like we have called, like called now Fairtrade schools within our producer network, where we are like having training classes and the students are graduating from it, and we are making them the leader of the movements. Like we are identifying some Fairtrade ambassadors within the communities. So these are some
Oh gosh, we've lost you. So some really interesting initiatives there to really raise the profile of Fairtrade. Well, let's hope Prabhakar can come back and continue. So another question that we have here. So what should brands consider when choosing to source Fairtrade cotton from India or cotton produced in the US? How to compare the two very different conditions for farmers and for the environment? I don't know. Is there anyone here that would like to take that question? Is there anyone who does buy cotton both from the US and from India, for example? Anyone of the panelists that might like to take that?
Well, I can try to give an answer. I'm not an expert on the US cotton growing, but some cotton we do use from the US as well, which has it's a different kind of setup. It's bigger farms. It's more industrialized, but I think it's the challenges are common between growing cotton in India. You have the environmental challenges that's more or less everywhere in the world. In some kind of degree. And then you still have in the US, you also have the challenges with the social aspects. They have a lot of immigrants that works in the cotton industry. So I think you would need to more look at where do you have production, where are your garment manufacturing, and you can't source away from negative impacts. You just need to address the impacts in the countries that you are, and then find the correct partners. So that's kind of my take on it.
Yes, we've moved a long way, haven't we, to when organic cotton started. And I remember being in Japan and starting People Tree, where people were flying organic cotton in from Texas into Italy, and then doing something with it in Italy, and then flying it back to Japan to sell. And I mean, we do now have, thanks to everyone's hard work, some very strong supply chains in local areas where we can transform good fiber into high quality product, which is a very, very different different thing. I mean, I've been I'll be visiting one of the Fairtrade cotton suppliers in India, in Gujarat, in a couple of weeks, and doing some interviews with them, and understanding that whilst there seems to be little bits of funding that might come in to help farmers transition into the fair trade certification, in addition to the current farmers, I think this was from the German government in this case, that you know, there is an enormous challenge in that, you know, only half of the cotton is being sold as organic and fair trade cotton in the marketplace, the rest going into conventional, which seems such an incredible opportunity. And I think, as we're discussing at COP, loss and damage, it feels, you know, very much that there should be investment and finance and support coming into the very, very important work of building supply chains that put farmers and the social standards central, as well as environmental and nature innovation, to create the kind of climate resilience that we'll be needing, and really celebrating farmers as stewards of the land and fertility, and managing the fertility of the soil. I'd love, I'm not sure, it seems that we've Pravarkar's had problems with the Wi-Fi, unfortunately. Andy, just wanting to come to you very quickly, when you look at the opportunities to scale and deliver more orders to fair trade cotton producers, do you see the educational part as being really key, driving more value with the more understanding of how farmers live through the educational work that you do in schools?
Yeah, in fact, not perversely, but interestingly, on this latest visit, I was asked by Chetna, which is the umbrella Fairtrade Organic Cotton organisation that looks after that grouping of farmers that we source from in Telangana in India. I was asked to go into a couple of the high schools where 70–80% of the two girls' high schools were you know, daughters of cotton farmers. And I took just a very simple A4 image of the Fairtrade mark, cotton mark, with me. And believe it or not, even though in one of those schools there were 3 premium Fairtrade premium projects, drinking water, toilet renovation, and a water well, with signs up, most of the girls didn't recognize the Fairtrade mark. So it was very interesting for me to be talking through with them what the Fairtrade cotton mark actually meant, and quite enlightening, and an absolute, obviously an absolute pleasure to do. But I think in terms of, you know, scalability, I'm sure Lars and the other panelists would agree, there's massive potential, because we have to remember that, you know, I visited cotton mills in India where, you know, yes, they spin organic cotton, but they only set aside about 2 weeks of their year to run organic cotton through the mill. And we've got to remember that even though we're involved in this space, the percentage of organic cotton going through the mills in India is still only about 3 or 4%. So there's massive potential, likewise, obviously, for fair trade. And I think the more that we as a collective can educate, you know, business at large, if you like, about the problems of, for example, just conventional Indian cotton farmers getting their product to market and getting through the, you know, the money lenders and the strange chains of purchase that prevail, that ultimately mean that they never really get a fair price, even though they're supposed to. You know, the scope is enormous, and frankly speaking, more businesses should be doing it, and more businesses should be asking, where exactly is their cotton coming from?
And as we heard from Norway, is you know, this becomes an essential to have this level of transparency. But again, you know, talking to market demands, you know, really important that we do, you know, we do this deep, solid work within our supply chains, working with fair trade cotton, but then that we tell the story. And I've I've been super impressed also with Nudie Jeans fantastic campaigns, which really bring to life a kind of a new lifestyle, a kind of low carbon lifestyle. But just wondering, Jenny, I mean, I know that you're not heading marketing as such, but how do you tell the stories to your customers?
No, but the strategy that we call Create Tomorrow's Vintage is, I mean, it's going through the whole organization. So everybody is involved, and we try to work on it for all departments on a daily basis. But I think the communication is quite basic, actually. It's what we did from day one. I mean, it comes back to the denims a lot, raw denims. Wear them for 6 months, don't wash them, and they will age beautifully. And then we try to match this with other kind of product groups, and it's not that easy always for like a plain t-shirt or so, but you can do that. You can have like a nice dyeing or a print that will age in a nice way and still be relevant for like 10 years to come. And to talk
and I think what you're alluding to, Jenny, is the the treasuring, the real valuing of clothing. And I think we're moving from the kind of the quantity mindset of cheap and cheerful to really revaluing them, and as many of you have said, Lars included, really ensuring that there is this respect for the producer and the farmer, and all the people actually within the supply chain. I'd very much like to thank all of the panelists. I'm so very sorry that Prabhakar's had some difficulties with Wi-Fi, and I'd like to invite now Lucy, to hand over to Lucy, and thank you so very much to the audience for some brilliant questions. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Safia. And yeah, just to echo your thoughts there, just to say thank you so much to the rest of our panelists as well. It really is so valuable to hear from industry experts as yourself and producer experts, and the ones with real first-hand experience of working with Fairtrade and working in sustainable cotton supply chains. And thanks, of course, to the audience for joining us. Just a reminder that any questions, any follow-up questions that you think weren't covered today, or that you're inspired by later this afternoon, please do get in touch with your national Fairtrade organisation, or using the cotton@fairtrade.org.uk email address. And just so you're a final reminder, there is a third and final session today. It is in just 6 minutes, so you have just enough time to get a lovely cup of Fairtrade tea or coffee before you join us. There is a separate link, and the third session is on Fairtrade as a strong partner for your HREDD strategy. I'm sure a lot of the panelists here now will agree that with the upcoming legislation, that is a really vitally important one. So please do join us for the third and final session, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.